The Great Hall of Concordia Prime was silent. Ambassador Marcus Kane stood alone at the center, surrounded by 47 alien species. Each one stared at him with different eyes, some with multiple pupils, others glowing like stars, and some that weren't eyes at all. The Zephyrian Chancellor rose from his crystal throne. His blue skin shimmered as he spoke. Human representative, we have made our decision. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. 3 months of meetings had led to this moment. 3 months of explaining why humans deserved a place in the galaxy. 3 months of defending his people. The Galactic Council has voted, the Chancellor continued. 47-0. Humanity must change. A hologram appeared in the air. It showed human soldiers fighting in old wars. Earth's conflicts from centuries past played like a horror movie. The images were real, but they told only half the story. Your species is too violent, said the architect delegate. Its stone-like body scraped against the floor as it moved. You bring war wherever you go. Marcus wanted to argue. He wanted to show them the hospitals humans built, the schools they created on alien worlds, the children they saved from plagues and disasters. But the council had already decided. The Chancellor's voice echoed through the hall. Humanity has 72 hours to accept genetic modification. You must remove your aggressive instincts forever, or you will be expelled from civilized space. Marcus looked around the room. These aliens had traded with humans for 50 years. They had eaten food grown on human farms. They had used medicines created in human labs. Some had even called humans their friends. Now they all voted against him. What if we refuse? Marcus asked. The Vegan ambassador stepped forward. Her plant-like face showed no emotion. Then you become enemies of the galaxy. All trade stops, all treaties end. You will be alone in the dark. Marcus felt the weight of 7 billion human lives on his shoulders. Earth's colonies depended on galactic trade. Human families lived on alien worlds. If he refused, they would all suffer. But if he agreed, humans would lose what made them human. I need to contact Earth, Marcus said. You have 72 hours, the Chancellor replied. Choose wisely, human. Your species' future depends on it. As Marcus walked toward the communication room, he heard whispers behind him. The aliens thought they were being kind. They thought they were saving the galaxy from dangerous humans. They had no idea what they were about to lose. Marcus activated his secure channel to Earth. President Santos appeared on the screen, her face tired from too many sleepless nights. They want to change us, Marcus said simply. Santos nodded. Then it's time to make a choice that will shock them all. 24 hours later, Marcus Kane walked back into the Galactic Council chamber. The alien delegates whispered among themselves. They expected him to beg. They expected him to accept their terms. They were wrong. Marcus carried a small metal case in his hand. Inside was Earth's official seal, the symbol of humanity's membership in the galactic community. He had carried it proudly for 5 years. Today, he would leave it behind. Honored delegates, Marcus began, his voice calm and clear. I bring Earth's answer. The Zephyrian Chancellor leaned forward. You accept the genetic modification? No, Marcus said simply. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. 47 species had never heard the word no in this hall. For 10,000 years, every species had eventually bent to the Council's will. Marcus raised his hand for silence. But we also reject your offer of exile. Now the aliens looked, confused. The architect delegate scraped forward. You must choose one or the other. We choose a third option, Marcus replied. He opened the metal case and took out Earth's seal. We choose to leave voluntarily. The silence was complete now. No species had ever voluntarily left the Council. It was unthinkable. Marcus placed the seal on the central table. The small Earth symbol looked tiny among the 47 alien emblems surrounding it. For 50 years we tried to be what you wanted, Marcus continued. We shared our food to feed your hungry worlds. We shared our medicines to heal your sick. We shared our art and music and stories. He walked around the table slowly, looking at each delegate. But you only saw our wars. You only saw our weapons. You never saw our children playing with alien children. You never saw our doctors working day and night to save lives, any lives, not just human ones. The Melodian representative, whose people loved human music, looked down at her hands. You call us violent, Marcus said. But when the Kresh pirates attacked the mining station last year, who rescued the survivors? When the plague hit the Centauri colonies, who sent medical ships? When the solar storm threatened New Geneva, who evacuated 30,000 aliens to safety? Several delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Marcus stopped in front of the chancellor. You want to change us into something safe and quiet, but safe and quiet people don't risk their lives for strangers. He turned toward the door. Earth formally withdraws from all treaties, all trade, agreements, and all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. The Vegan ambassador stood up quickly. You cannot survive alone. Marcus smiled sadly. We survived alone for millions of years before we met you. We will learn to do it again. As he walked away, his final words echoed through the chamber. Goodbye. We hope you remember us kindly. 3 weeks after Marcus Kane walked away, the galaxy began to starve. Dr. Elena Vasquez stood in the control room of Terra Agricultural Station, watching numbers flash on her screens. Each number represented a world that would soon run out of food. All human farms are now offline, her assistant reported. No more exports to alien worlds. Elena nodded. It was necessary, but it hurt. She remembered the Centauri children who loved human apples, the Melodian elders who said human wheat made the best bread in the galaxy. Now those children would go hungry. On the planet Harmony, the Centauri coalition held an emergency meeting. Their leader, a tall blue being named Zex-41, stared at empty storage warehouses. How long do we have? He asked his advisors. 6 weeks of food left, came the answer. Maybe 8 if we ration strictly. Zex-41's face turned pale blue, a sign of fear among his people. The Centauri were plant eaters. They couldn't digest most alien foods. Only humans grew the special crops they needed to survive. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds. The mining stations in the outer rim went silent. First, human engineers had designed most of the equipment. Human workers had trained the alien crews. Without human knowledge, the complicated machines stopped working. Captain James Rodriguez commanded the evacuation ships. His job was to bring human workers home safely. He watched alien miners standing helplessly beside broken drilling equipment. Can't we leave some technical manuals? Asked his engineer. James shook his head. Orders are orders. Complete withdrawal. On the crystal world of New Geneva, the atmospheric processors began failing. These machines made the air breathable for the mixed colony of humans and aliens. Without human maintenance, the delicate system started breaking down. The harmonics, crystal beings who lived there, sent desperate messages to the council. There, beautiful song cities would become tombs if the processors failed completely. Dr. Vasquez received the messages in her office on Earth. Each one was a plea for help. Each one broke her heart a little more. The gastropods are offering triple payment for food shipments, her secretary reported. The architects say they'll give us rare minerals for just one maintenance visit. The Dreamweavers are begging for medical supplies. Elena closed her eyes. Before the ultimatum, these species had been friends. Human children had played in harmonic crystal gardens. Human doctors had worked in gastropod hospitals. Human teachers had shared stories with Dreamweaver students. Now friendship meant nothing. Politics had destroyed 50 years of cooperation. But the galaxy was learning a harsh lesson. They had thought humans were just another member species. They were wrong. Humans weren't just members of galactic civilization. They were the foundation holding it together, and now that foundation was gone. Admiral Sarah Chen watched the stars from her ship's bridge. The human fleet floated in dark space just outside galactic borders. They were no longer welcome in Council territory. Admiral, her communications, officer called. "We're getting distress signals." Sarah walked to the console. The screen showed red warning lights across 17 different star systems, all under attack. "Who's attacking them?" Sarah asked. "The Kresh Empire, ma'am. They've broken the peace treaty." Sarah's jaw tightened. The Kresh were the galaxy's wolves, a species that lived for war and conquest. For decades, council treaties had kept them in check. They could only raid empty worlds and asteroid fields. Now with the galaxy in chaos, they smelled weakness. On the slug-like world of Gastropia, explosions lit up the night sky. Kresh warships rained plasma fire on the peaceful cities below. The gastropods had no weapons, no armies. They were scholars and artists, not warriors. Their distress calls went unanswered. The council fleet was too far away. "Help us," the gastropod leader transmitted. "Our children are dying," but there was no one left to help. The Kresh commander, a scarred beast named Thrak, laughed as he watched cities burn. 50 years we waited," he growled to his crew. 50 years the council kept us caged like pets." His red eyes gleamed with hunger. "But the humans are gone now, and humans were the only ones who fought back." Admiral Chen studied the tactical display. Her fleet could reach Gastropia in 6 hours. Her ships were fast and her crew was ready. But Earth had given clear orders: stay out of galactic affairs. "Admiral," her weapons officer said quietly, "we could save them." Sarah closed her eyes. She could see the burning cities in her mind, innocent beings dying while she watched from the darkness. On the crystal world of Harmonic Prime, the attack was already over. Kresh soldiers walked through shattered song cities, their heavy boots crushing delicate crystal formations that had taken centuries to grow. The Harmonics had tried to sing their traditional peace songs. The Kresh had answered with bombs. More signals came in. The peaceful Dreamweavers were under attack. Their great libraries containing the history of 1,000 worlds were burning. The Centauri begged for help, but their defensive ships were designed for asteroid mining, not war. Sarah's first officer approached her. "Orders, Admiral." Sarah stared at the distress signals. Each one represented millions of lives. Before the ultimatum, these beings had been neighbors. Their children had played with human children. Their scientists had worked alongside human researchers. Now they were dying, and humanity watched from the shadows. "Maintain position," Sarah said finally. "We are observers only." But as another city died on her screen, she wondered how long humans could remain just observers. Even exiled guardians still had hearts. Commander David Torres couldn't sleep. His ship, the Mercy, floated in space near the gastropod system. Officially, they were on a mapping mission. Unofficially, everyone knew why they were really there. "Sir," his navigator whispered. "Gastropod. Refugee ships are under attack. Kresh fighters are hunting them." David stared at the screen. Small civilian ships tried to escape their burning world. Kresh warships chased them like cats hunting mice. "Orders, sir?" his weapons officer asked. David thought about Earth's commands. Stay out of galactic affairs. Don't get involved. Humanity was no longer the galaxy's protector, but on his screen, a refugee ship full of gastropod children was about to die. "Battle stations," David ordered. "We're going hunting." His crew smiled. They had been waiting for those words. The Mercy dropped out of stealth mode and fired on the Kresh fighters. The alien pilots were so surprised they forgot to dodge. Within minutes, the refugee ships were safe. "This is Commander Torres," David broadcast. "Any gastropod ships in distress, head toward my position. We'll escort you to safety." Across human space, similar scenes played out. Captain Lisa Park's medical ship Hope treated wounded Harmonics while officially testing new medical equipment. Engineer Mike Chen repaired atmospheric processors on New Geneva while supposedly conducting research. Dr. Elena Vasquez watched the reports from her office on Earth. Dozens of human ships were breaking orders to help alien refugees. "Should we stop them?" her assistant asked. Elena shook her head. "How do you order someone to watch children die? On the Dreamweaver world of Memory Prime, The situation was desperate. The Kresh had surrounded their great library, the largest collection of stories in the galaxy. Inside, millions of books and recordings from every known species were stored, including every human story ever written. The Dreamweaver Elder, an ancient being called Sage Willow, sent a final transmission as Kresh bombs fell around her. "To our human friends," she said, her voice breaking, "we kept every story you shared with us. Every poem, every song, every tale of your people. We treasured them most of all." The transmission ended as the library exploded. On Earth, President Maria Santos watched the recording in her office. Tears ran down her face. The Dreamweavers had been humanity's greatest friends in the galaxy. They had loved human culture when other species called it primitive. Now they were gone. Santos pressed her communicator. "Get me Admiral Chen." Sarah Chen's face appeared on screen. "Madam President?" "Admiral, how many ships do you have ready? For combat?" "All of them," Sarah replied immediately. Santos nodded. "Then it's time to stop pretending we don't care. The galaxy threw us out, but we won't let it burn." The conscience war had begun. Captain James Rodriguez crouched in the ventilation shaft of the Melodian Capitol building. Below him, Kresh soldiers searched for the planet's leaders. The peaceful Melodians had no idea how to hide from warriors. "Echo team positions?" James whispered into his comm. "Ready," came 3 replies. His Marines were spread throughout the building. "Remember, we're not here," James said. "This never happened." Earth officially denied knowing about the mission. But James had his orders from people who couldn't give official orders anymore. The Kresh commander below was questioning a terrified Melodian elder. "Where are your leaders hiding?" The elder, a being that looked like living music given form, couldn't answer. Her people had never learned to lie. James dropped through the ceiling behind the Kresh soldiers. His stun rifle was silent. Within seconds, 6 alien warriors lay unconscious on the floor. "This way," James told the elder. "We're getting you out." Across the galaxy, similar rescues were happening. Human special forces appeared like ghosts, saved lives, and vanished again. The Kresh began reporting attacks by space pirates and unknown raiders. They had no idea they were fighting Earth's finest soldiers. Admiral Sarah Chen coordinated the operations from her flagship. On her screens, she tracked dozens of human ships conducting training exercises near alien worlds. "Admiral," her intelligence officer reported, "the Kresh are getting suspicious. They're calling for reinforcements." Sarah nodded. "Let them come. Our people are ready." On Concordia Prime, the Galactic Council was in chaos. Ambassador Tavara of the Zephyrians stood before the emergency assembly. 17 worlds attacked, she announced. Millions dead. The Kresh grow bolder every day. "Where is the council?" "Fleet?" demanded the architect representative. "Scattered across the galaxy trying to maintain order," Tavara replied. "We don't have enough ships to protect everyone." The truth was painful. For centuries, the council had relied on human ships to patrol dangerous sectors. Human marines had handled pirates and smugglers. Human intelligence had tracked threats before they became disasters. Now the council faced the Kresh Empire with inadequate forces and no experience in real warfare. "What about asking the humans for help?" suggested the Melodian representative who had just been rescued by James Rodriguez's team. The chamber fell silent. The same beings who had demanded humanity's genetic modification now needed human weapons. "Impossible," said the Chancellor. "They refused our terms. They chose exile." "Did they?" Tavara asked quietly. "Or did we choose it for them?" Meanwhile, Captain Rodriguez led the Melodian leadership through underground tunnels to waiting human ships. As they reached safety, the elderly Melodian touched his arm. "Why?" she asked. "We voted against you. We called you monsters." James looked at her with tired eyes. "Because that's what humans do. We protect people who can't protect themselves." The unofficial war was becoming very official. Admiral Sarah Chen stared at the tactical display in horror. The Kresh Empire had found the sanctuary worlds. For thousands of years, the sanctuary worlds had been neutral territory. No weapons were allowed. No wars could be fought there. It was where the galaxy's refugees lived, orphans from dead worlds, survivors of ancient conflicts, beings with nowhere else to go. 15 billion helpless souls lived on those worlds, and the Kresh fleet was only 6 hours away. "Admiral," her communications officer called, "message from Earth Command." President Santos appeared on screen, her face grim. "Admiral, you are ordered to observe only. Do not engage the Kresh fleet. This is not our fight." Sarah understood. The politics, Earth couldn't officially enter a galactic war, but she also understood something else. "Understood, Madam President," Sarah replied. The transmission ended. Sarah looked around her bridge. Her officers stared at her, waiting for orders. On the main screen, refugee ships tried desperately to evacuate the sanctuary worlds, but there were too many people and not enough ships. Most would never escape in time. "Ma'am," her weapons officer said quietly, "the Kresh fleet has children in their targeting computers. Orphanages, hospitals." Sarah closed her eyes. She thought about her own daughter back on Earth. She thought about the gastropod children she had seen playing in human schools. She thought about the harmonic younglings who sang lullabies their human friends had taught them. All her life she had followed orders, but some orders asked too much. "All ships," Sarah announced over the fleet communication system. "This is Admiral Chen. I am about to disobey a direct order from Earth Command." Her captains listened in silence. "The Kresh Empire is about to murder 15 billion innocent beings. Men, women, children, elders, all defenseless. They're counting on us to follow our orders and do nothing." Sarah's voice grew stronger. "But we are human, and humans don't watch children die." She turned to her weapons officer. "Target the Kresh fleet. All ships, prepare for combat." "Admiral," her first officer warned, "we'll be court-martialed for this." Sarah smiled grimly. Better to face justice on Earth than live with shame in space. The human fleet dropped their stealth systems. For weeks they had been secretly following the Kresh forces, learning their tactics and weaknesses. Now 43 human warships appeared on Kresh sensors like ghosts becoming solid. The Kresh commander couldn't believe his eyes. Where did they come from? Admiral Chen opened a channel to the enemy fleet. "Kresh vessels, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force. You will withdraw from sanctuary space immediately." The Kresh commander laughed. "You have no authority here, human. Your people abandoned the galaxy." "Wrong," Sarah replied. "We abandoned the council. We never abandoned our conscience." The Battle of Sanctuary was about to begin. The first shots lit up space like deadly fireworks. Admiral Sarah Chen's flagship Defiance fired its main guns at the Kresh command ship. The enemy's shields flared bright blue, then collapsed. The Kresh had never faced human military technology before. "All ships attack pattern Delta," Sarah ordered. "Protect the evacuation ships." The human fleet moved like a pack of wolves. They had trained together for years, knew each other's tactics perfectly. The Kresh fought like individual hunters, each ship acting alone. It was no contest. Captain Torres led his destroyer Lightning against 3 Kresh cruisers. His ship was smaller but faster. He used hit-and-run tactics, striking and vanishing before the enemy could respond. "Target their engines," Torres told his crew. "Cripple them, don't destroy them. Save our ammunition for the ones threatening civilians." But the Kresh were learning. Their commander Thrak was old and cunning. He split his fleet into smaller groups, forcing the humans to spread out. "Chen," Thrak broadcast on all frequencies, "your little fleet cannot protect everyone. While you save one world, I will burn 2 others." Sarah gritted her teeth. He was right. The human fleet was outnumbered 3-1. That's when Captain Rodriguez arrived with the supply ships. "Admiral," James announced over the comm, "we brought some extra firepower." Behind him came 20 cargo haulers and mining ships, civilian vessels with no military weapons. But humans had always been creative in warfare. The mining ship Iron Mountain rammed straight into a Kresh battleship. Its captain, an old miner named Pete Jackson, had filled his cargo hold with explosive mining charges. "This is for the Dreamweaver children," Pete shouted as his ship exploded. The Kresh battleship broke in half. Other cargo ships used their industrial tools as weapons. Cutting lasers sliced through enemy hulls. Magnetic cranes grabbed Kresh fighters and crushed them. Asteroid nets tangled enemy ships. On his command ship, Thrak watched in amazement. What kind of beings turn farming equipment into weapons? But the humans were paying a terrible price. The lightning exploded while protecting a hospital ship. The destroyer Thunder sacrificed itself to stop Kresh bombers from reaching an orphanage. Admiral Chen watched her ships die one by one. Each captain chose duty over survival. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "the Defiance has multiple hull breaches. We're losing power." Sarah looked at the tactical display. The evacuation was almost complete. 15 billion lives were safe, but only 12 human ships were still fighting. "All remaining ships," Sarah broadcast, "final attack run. Make it count." The Defiance turned toward the largest Kresh ship. Its engines were failing, weapons barely functional. "Ma'am," her first officer said, "we won't survive this." Sarah smiled. "Then let's make sure they remember us." The ship accelerated toward its target, ready to make the ultimate sacrifice. Captain James Rodriguez pulled Admiral Chen from the burning wreckage of the Defiance. Her ship had destroyed the Kresh command vessel, but barely survived the explosion. "Status report," Sarah whispered, blood running down her face. "Kresh fleet is retreating," James replied. "We won, Admiral. The sanctuary worlds are safe." But victory felt hollow. Of 43 human ships, only 8 remained. Thousands of brave souls had died to save strangers who had called them monsters. "Captain Torres?" Sarah asked. James shook his head sadly. "The Lightning didn't make it, but he took down their flagship first." 3 days later, the galaxy learned the truth about the Kresh invasion. Captain Rodriguez's Marines had captured a Kresh data core during the battle. Inside were detailed invasion plans that shocked the civilized worlds. 200 worlds, Ambassador Tavara announced to the emergency council session. The Kresh planned to attack 200 worlds. The holographic display showed the full scope of the Empire's ambitions. Every major council world was on the target list. The peaceful species would have been enslaved or destroyed. Phase 1 was already complete, Tavara continued. 17 worlds attacked while we were weak and divided. Phase 2 would have targeted our homeworlds. The gastropod representative trembled as she saw her planet marked for complete destruction. The harmonics gasped as they realized their crystal cities were listed as mining resources. Even the proud Zephyrians discovered they were scheduled for genetic modification experiments. "How many would have died?" asked the Melodian delegate. Tavara's voice was barely a whisper. "According to their calculations, approximately 400 billion beings." The chamber fell silent. The same council that had demanded humanity's genetic modification now realized that human aggression had been the only thing standing between them and genocide. "Where is the human fleet now?" the Chancellor asked quietly. "Gone," Tavara replied. "After the battle, they returned to Earth space. They're not answering our communications." On Earth, President Santos stood in her office, reading casualty reports. Admiral Chen was in the hospital. Captain Torres was dead. Thousands of families would never see their loved ones again. Her aide entered with a message pad. "Ma'am, the Galactic Council is requesting an emergency meeting. They want to apologize." Santos laughed bitterly. "Apologize? They demanded we change our nature. Now they want to thank us for keeping it. What should I tell them?" The aide asked. Santos walked to her window, looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, alien children were alive because humans had refused to abandon their conscience. "Tell them," Santos said finally, that if they want to talk, they can come to us, but they come as equals, not as judges. And if they refuse? Santos smiled grimly. Then the galaxy will learn to defend itself. We're done being guardians for people who don't want us. The reckoning had begun. 1 year later, Marcus Kane stood in a new chamber. Not on Concordia Prime, but on Unity Station, a space station built jointly by humans and aliens. This time he wasn't alone at the center. He stood beside representatives from every species in the galaxy. The old Galactic Council was dead. In its place was the Galactic Alliance, a partnership of equals. Ambassador Tavara approached Marcus before the ceremony began. The Zephyrian looked older, sadder, but wiser. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "We were fools." Marcus nodded. "We all make mistakes. The important thing is learning from them." Around them, the new Alliance chamber buzzed with activity. Gastropod engineers worked alongside human technicians. Harmonic crystals sang in harmony with human music. Dreamweaver scholars recorded new stories of cooperation. Admiral Sarah Chen, recovered from her injuries, cut the ribbon on the memorial section. It honored all who died in the Kresh War, humans and aliens alike. The largest memorial was for Captain David Torres and the crew of the Lightning. Below his name were the words, "He died protecting strangers who called him enemy." President. Santos gave the opening address to the Alliance Assembly. 1 year ago, we were told we must change our nature or face exile, she began. Today, we celebrate that same nature that saved the galaxy. She looked around the chamber at faces both human and alien. We learned that monsters are not those who can fight, but those who choose when to fight. Humans will always be capable of war, but we fight only to protect the innocent. The Melodian representative stood up. "What if we face another threat like the Kresh? Then we face it together," Santos replied. "As equals, as allies, as family." Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral, managed the new joint defense fleet. Human ships flew alongside alien vessels, their crews trained together and trusted each other completely. Marcus Kane became the Alliance's first Secretary General. His opening words became famous across the galaxy. "We were called monsters for our ability to destroy, but we proved we are guardians by choosing what to protect." Today marks a new era, not of human dominance but of shared responsibility. In the memorial garden, a simple plaque bore the names of all who died at Sanctuary. Above it, carved in both human script and alien symbols, were the words, "They abandoned the table to save the galaxy." The galaxy had learned its greatest lesson. Sometimes you must lose everything to discover what truly matters, and sometimes the monsters you fear are actually the angels you need. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as subjects or rulers, but as protectors of all who could not protect themselves. The covenant was sealed.